So, the new killer in Dead by Daylight, the Dark Lord Dracula himself, has been released into the main game, and a lot of people either give up when they're going against him, or give up when they're playing as him.
Where is he? I just heard his terror. Oh.
It's over here. There he is. He's just sitting in the corner. As well. Oh my god!
Can I bet that
No,
dog?
I feel bad now
Can I
because
bet
like
that dog?
Where he at?
he's behind this rock.
Can I bet that dog?
He's giving
Does
up.
he know it? Is that why he's doing that?
I'm gonna go pet him again. Hold on, let me go pet him. He's friendly. He's friendly. Hold on. I just
Oh.
He's leaving
want
us.
to drop off a package. That's it.
So now everyone is wondering, what's it like to actually play as him? And more importantly, is this new killer for me? Before we get started, consider subscribing as I make all sorts of videos on the game and its community. First, we must ask ourselves an important question. How do you feel about playing as Nemesis and or Pyramid Head? How do we feel about playing as Demogorgon? How do you feel about playing as the Spirit? You may already know Dracula has 3 forms he can shapeshift into. There's his default vampire form, his wolf form, and his bat form. But how does it feel to actually play as these forms? Well, believe it or not, ironically, his most difficult form to use is his default vampire form due to the difficulty of his Hellfire ability. See, his Hellfire spell can be used to attack over small obstacles such as pallets and windows, and works almost the same as Nemesis's whip, but with one exception, the aiming. With Nemesis, you can aim down to the last second even as your whip is in the attack animation, to slightly adjust your aim in case a survivor tries to quickly change direction to dodge. With Dracula, the moment you use his Hellfire ability to attack, there is no last second aim adjustment, it just goes in a completely straight line the moment you press the button to attack. Even if you try to adjust the animation by turning, Dracula will turn, but the Hellfire spell just goes straight. Combine this with the fact that he moves slower when charging up his Hellfire ability, and his turning also feeling slow, and you have a killer that feels very stiff and restricted. Also, for some reason, I'm not sure if this is a problem on other platforms as well, but on PlayStation, the shapeshift button for wolf form is R2, which is a trigger on the right, but on the screen it shows itself on the left, and it's vice versa for bat form where it says L2, which is on the left, but it shows itself on the right. Yeah, that needs to be patched immediately. That was really confusing. However, you may have noticed a lot of Dracula killers going into his wolf form and staying in his wolf form for most of the match, and that's because his wolf form feels smoother and easier to use, and totally isn't because they're dog animal people and are possibly furries. I would never accuse anyone of doing anything like that. They improved his speed from the PTB so he moves a little bit faster from the actual game, and when you're chasing survivors, they'll drop these scent orbs that when picked up give you a minor speed boost. Now the wolf's ability to suddenly charge forward, much like the Demogorgon, is basically Demogorgon with 2 major exceptions. The first is when you lunge forward for an attack and end up missing your shot, the wolf will actually charge again a second time automatically. Notice me saying automatically. You don't have control over the second lunge, it just happens on its own about 1.5 seconds after missing the first one. This is super useful, not only when you miss your target, but also for catching up to survivors when they have a lot of distance on you. The wolf's second exception to the Demogorgon is that for some reason it can't walk at the same speed backwards. Every killer in the game walks in the same speed in every direction. Walking forward and backward will be the same speed for a killer, but with Dracula's wolf form he is significantly slower when moving backwards. I'm talking like survivor walking speed. It is super slow. So as a result, this makes it difficult to mind game around certain loops. He's also smaller and harder to see, and is great for tracking survivors. There's also a bonus point I noticed about the wolf form, and it's the fact that you can hug certain objects to slide off of them when charging your lunge, kinda like hug tagging with the Blight. I'm not sure if the developers left that in the game on purpose or if they're going to patch this. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it's effective when you can get it to work. Overall, the wolf form feels very smooth and is not difficult to use. His bat form is super useful, and you'll mainly be using it to get around the map quickly. When Dracula is in his bat form, he can travel to any vault point within 24 meters. So anything a survivor can vault over, you can teleport to it using the bat form. This became even more useful when I realized that you could teleport to dropped pallets as well, since technically it's a vaultable point for survivors. I mostly left some of the more unsafe pallets dropped for this very reason. Combine this with his terror radius reducing to a lullaby, and you have a quick and quiet way of increasing your mobility and getting across the map. Quick and quiet, just like the perk. And speaking of perks, Dracula's perks is where it's either a hit or miss. Now in my opinion, none of them are A tier perks on their own, but can definitely be combined with other perks in the game to create some strong builds. First we've got Hex Wretched Fate. which activates after a generator is completed. After it gets completed, a random totem will get a hex on it, and it'll give the Obsession a 33% penalty to generator repair speed. The Obsession sees this hex totem's aura when within 12 meters. Now I can definitely see this being paired with Dying Light to create a major slowdown for survivors when it comes to repairing generators. The second perk is Human Greed, which shows you the aura of all unopened chests at all times. And when a survivor comes within 8 meters of a chest, you see their aura for 3 seconds. You can also kick chests to close them if they've been opened. However, survivors open these kicked chests 50% faster. Now I unexpectedly ended up getting some value from this, as I would see survivors' auras from the other side of the map from time to time, giving me information on their approximate location. You can definitely bring an offering to spawn more chests on the map, which can help you see their aura more frequently, and it won't even benefit the survivors too much because, let's be honest, who's out there trying to get these chests done? Nobody. The third perk is Dominance, which blocks off a totem or chest for 8 seconds the first time a survivor interacts with it. When they become blocked, you see their aura in white. Now this is definitely his weakest perk, and that's not even my opinion. This perk actually has the lowest pick rate among Dracula's perks. Now I've noticed that Behavior is kind of trying to bring in this era of, opening chests and doing side objectives with, Lara Croft's chapter having perks that also revolved around doing chests and totems, and with the survivor that released alongside Dracula, Trevor Belmont, also having perks that revolve around doing chests. But let's be honest, most people are just going to ignore this and go for strong gen repair builds or chase builds. Nobody's going to bring in a specialized build that says, hey, I want to do chests. Let's be honest. Overall, Dracula has a lot to him and is a very complex killer with lots of ins and outs when it comes to each of his forms, and a high skill ceiling when it comes to mastering his forms. Knowing when and where to change his forms is also important to keep pressure on the map effectively, as staying in one form too much can be countered by good survivors. This, combined with the fact that there is a little bit of a recharge between shifting between forms, I would say with a lot of practice and a bit of polish from the developers, you've got yourself a solid A-rank killer. Just the ability to teleport around with a low terror radius and getting a second lunge to catch up to survivors is pretty strong. However, because he's such a complex killer, he's actually kind of difficult to play as. I know Behavior removed the killer difficulty display where it used to show you how hard it was to play as the killers you clicked on, but if I was to rate him on difficulty, I would say he's hard to play as. Perhaps I wouldn't say very hard to play as, but because getting comfortable with him means getting comfortable with 3 different forms with 3 different skill sets, it definitely demands a lot of practice. Now if you're wondering if the Dark Lord is for you, ask yourself this again. Do you like playing as Nemesis, Spirit, and Demogorgon? What do you feel about his perks? How do you feel about committing to a killer that demands good knowledge and practice? How do you feel about knowing that good survivors will have a good counterplay to him? If your answers to these questions are in the positive, congratulations! Dracula is for you and you'll have loads of fun burning and biting survivors and harassing them with bats. If the answer is no, then well, you could always wait for the Five Nights at Freddy's DLC that's set to release next year. I mean, seriously, we all know that we're gonna go and buy it without even waiting to see if it's good or not, and then hear survivors complain that it's overpowered, or hear killer mains complaining that it's too weak, and everyone from the FNAF freaking fandom is gonna show up here, and all these kids are gonna start playing Dead by Daylight, and it's gonna ruin everything. Mark my words, guys. You have now reached the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment your thoughts down below. What do you think about the Dark Lord? I'll respond to your comments as quick as I can. Killswitch out.